Neal Battaglia, saxstation.com. So today on Sax Station, I had a conversation, and this person didn't really appreciate what I said, but I think that they knew that what I said was correct and would be useful. So here's what happened. This person came in and said, "Hi, I'm Xander. I'm looking for new music to play during the summer, and I love Epic Sax Guy, and can't find anywhere to print out the piece." So I say, "Why do you need to print it?" Then he says, "So I can have it to play anywhere, like school, when it starts back up, and for summer band camp." And I say, "Why not just learn it and not need sheet music?" He says, "Well, good point, but still." And I say, "What?" And he types some stuff and erases it, and I says, "Never mind, have a good day." And then he gives me a thumb down because he doesn't appreciate what I said. So I actually went and I looked at the original video, this music from the Moldova team and the Eurovision music contest, and basically the sax line from Epic Sax Guy is 7 seconds long. So I actually do think that there are situations where reading music is practical and probably more efficient and probably a good idea. If you have like a 10-page piece, I would probably not memorize it. Maybe I would if the situation really required it or if it made sense to do so. But a lot of times there's certain things that I will read. Otherwise, it is kind of difficult to memorize hundreds or thousands of pieces of music depending on kind of what you're playing in your own circumstances. But the Epic Sax Guy line, it's 7 seconds long. Basically, if you wrote it out, I think it'd be about one line of music. It wouldn't be a full page. It would be a very short little section of music. So, yeah, I mean, it's probably, I don't know if they sell that line somewhere. It's basically, if you look at the video, the guy's definitely not reading it. He's playing it by memory. If you're playing it, it's probably going to look better if you play it by memory. It's kind of almost silly to be reading one line of music. That's not super difficult. If it's 5 pages, that makes more sense to me. That's probably something you should do in some situations. Other situations, you would want to put in the time and memorize it. But basically, it kind of looks better most of the time to play something by memory. Other cases, it's maybe not worth it to memorize it if it's, again, like 10 pages long or something like that. But you have to kind of think about it, like whether it's worth it to learn and really know, or whether maybe you want to read it and focus on playing it better. Like if someone has something memorized and they don't sound good, it doesn't really matter that much that they have it memorized. It's probably better maybe in that situation for them maybe to be reading it and to be focusing on playing it better than to have memorized it. Like you can spend your time on the saxophone in different ways. You can work on playing things better. You can work on memorizing. A lot of times if you memorize something, you will play it better, but sometimes you won't. Or maybe if it's really long, a lot of music, then the time you spent memorizing, you might not even remember all of it. You might like forget a small section of it, and that's kind of problematic sometimes. So basically I told this guy that he should memorize it. It's 7 seconds long. If he really likes the piece, I don't think it will take him a lot of time to memorize it. If he wants to play it in front of people, again, I think it looks kind of silly to play a single line of music by reading it if you can memorize it. And let's say you're improvising and you want to throw in that line from Epic Sax Guy and you think people might laugh. It could be funny. They'll recognize the line and kind of connect with it. In that case, if you're improvising, pretty much you need to have it memorized. If you don't have it memorized, I guess you could write it out and be looking and reading, but again, I guess just like a small piece of music that's not all that complicated, I would probably recommend memorizing. If you can learn it by ear, that's even better. If you, and again, and actually this guy was on the page on my website that has a video of me showing how to play this line. It's not like he couldn't find the notes or hear it somewhere. Like I showed what the notes were. I kind of broke it into small sections. And I feel like you can learn it that way. You don't need the sheet music. And With myself, I feel like I probably relied on reading music for too long. Like I learned a little bit of music by ear kind of early on, but not a lot. It felt kind of uncomfortable, and I just felt like it was easier to read music for me because I could do that pretty proficiently. Kind of as time went on, though, I saw that maybe I relied on that too much. I probably should have been learning more music by ear starting at an early age. So I recommend doing that. I recommend memorizing music. I recommend learning music by ear. I have another video where I talk pretty extensively about why you maybe want to learn music by ear, how you can get started. It can seem maybe a little bit intimidating, but if you start with something kind of simple, if you start with something slow, something that's maybe just saxophone that you can hear, it's not within the whole context of a band with a lot of instruments going on, it's maybe easier to do than you think it is. And if you have some kind of fundamentals with the saxophone, if you know how to play pretty much all the notes, if you can play like a chromatic scale, if you know some, maybe some major scales and some other kind of scales, it starts to kind of piece together a little bit easier. But even if you don't know that much, you can start learning music by ear. You kind of just listen to something, you try playing it, you try and figure it out. If you want to memorize something and you learn it by ear, I feel like that's maybe a little bit easier than reading it and memorizing it. You can do either way, but a lot of times you kind of want to get more into learning music by ear in most situations with the saxophone. Maybe within certain styles of music, maybe if you're playing in an orchestra or more classical, you'll probably be reading most of the time. You might not need to definitely learn as much music by ear, but it's still going to probably be good for you if you want to maybe branch out, if you play some other styles of music. So, yeah, for this particular circumstance, the guy didn't like what I said, but I think it's pretty valid advice. If it's a short line of music, learn it by ear, learn it by memory. You can use like the videos that I made teaching the line, but you can't print out that video. So you pretty much have to memorize it. Even if you're kind of getting help, I would recommend getting it in your head and getting in your fingers and being able to play it on the saxophone.